Oh, shit.
Go get me a beer, bitch!
We don't use fake booze.
I like chocolate and cheese.
I'm definitely gonna buy a bunch of crack.
We have snack time. It's like kindergarten.
How's that ass feel?
He's a real prick.
Are you happy now?
You two aren't banging, are you?
No, don't do that. Don't tell the church.
What are you handing down life lessons? Get the hell out of here.
You are a horrible father.
It ain't always sunny in Philadelphia.
I had this idea for a short film that I thought would be pretty funny, and I just wrote a couple of scenes.
It was about a guy going over to his friend's house to get sugar for his coffee because he ran out of sugar.
Hey, listen, do you have any sugar, man? I just made a whole shitload of coffee and I ran out of sugar.
And the guy, his friend tells him that he has cancer, and the guy, all he can think about is, I really want to get back and put that sugar in my coffee.
I made a shitload of coffee.
Yeah, you made... okay.
Yeah, really, yeah, it's like first thing in the morning, I like to have my coffee, and that's all he can think about. Meanwhile, his friend's like, yeah, I haven't told anybody, but I have cancer, and you know, you're really the only person I can talk to. And he's like, ooh, yeah, well, you know, we probably should talk about that at some point.
Did you want to talk right now?
Instead of a pitch, I just popped in the DVD, and we had a bunch of offers, and FX was one of them. We went right to FX. We made the pilot. It was pretty fucking wild. The major reason we went with FX was they really got the show right from the beginning. You know, if you guys like this show, great. But here's the deal: if you want to buy it, I'm going to be the executive producer and showrunner. I'm going to be the head writer. Glenn and Charlie are going to be executive producers, and FX said, okay.
What?
It's a show about three assholes, and three assholes can live anywhere. They said, well, where would you put them? Well, I grew up in Philly, you know, so let's just put them in Philly. And let's give them a job, like acting, where they can have lots of free time to get themselves into trouble. And putting them in a bar where they have lots of free time and alcohol to drink and their days free made that conducive to the show.
You're drinking a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Whatever, dude, irrelevant.
And suddenly we had to write a bunch of scripts and put this thing together, and you kept kind of looking around and be like, all right, well, who's gonna do it for us, you know? And they're like, well, no one's gonna do it for you. You're gonna do it yourselves. And that's when we were like, well, fuck. That's no fun.
My agency sent over the pilot that Rob, Charlie, and Glenn had made, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen.
Why not? I think I can see your scrotum.
But I was really intrigued at how liberating it was. And these guys, one of the things I really responded to was they kind of made a virtue of the lack of resources. Often on the set we would try not to make things perfect, to kind of remind people that this is something that was just kind of happening in front of their eyes.
We put out a citywide search for Sweet D, and we knew that we had to find a girl who could, you know, fill in the role of the female voice of the show.
Men are such pricks.
Oh, tell me about it.
We saw hundreds of girls, and then we found Caitlin.
I got this audition, and the first thing I noticed was that the character's name was Sweet D, and I was like, can we change that if I get this? What kind of name is Sweet D? So yeah, I just went in and we met, and we kind of all just became friends right away.
We offered her the part, and she turned it down.
Because they offered me like $10 a year.
And then we offered it to her again, and she turned it down again. And then we offered her more money, and she turned it down again.
I was really looking to get on like a network show where I was gonna be in a lot of episodes and make a lot of money, and I don't know what I was thinking.
And then we said, fuck it, let's go find a different girl. And then we were like, no, no. And then we went out and looked for another girl. That didn't happen. And then eventually her other show fell apart, and she took the small amount of money that we were paying her, and then that was it.
John Landgraf sent me this first season, and I thought it was really just irreverent and funny.
And being on at 10:30 at night on a Thursday, you know, on FX, you know, at the time, you know, people just weren't tuning in. And so John presented us with the opportunity of coming back if we were able to sign a big name.
One day, Landgraf calls me up. He says, thinking about adding a character. I said, oh, really? Whoa, what character? What, you know? So he said, let Rob come over and talk to you about it.
And I went over to his house. It turns out that he was a fan of the show already.
And so McElhaney comes over. He did wind up telling me some good stories, you know, like what? Background of Frank.
I didn't go to Vietnam just to have pansies like you take my freedom away from me.
You went to Vietnam in 1993 to open up a sweatshop.
Wants to come back and feel life again because she's like made so much money. I mean, it happens to people all the time. They don't know it, but it's happening.
I hate the kind of person that your whore mother turned me into. The big house, the big car, I'm giving it all away.
And that's what hooked me on it, doing the show. Because I figured like, well, if the guy's made all this dough, and then, you know, but what he really wants is that, you know, he wants the life.
I want to live like you again, Charlie. I want to be pathetic and desperate and ugly and hopeless.
So far, it's just, I mean, it's been awful. Living in squalor, you know, having to deal with Charlie.
Tell people, hey, I own this, I own that.
Okay, the butter goes on in the peanut butter.
Well, you never really know what you're gonna get, you know, when you bring on somebody of his status.
It could have gone, you know, if he had come in as the star, it would have been really painful. It would have really been hard to shoot.
I was worried that we would screw the show up. I said, you know, what if we bring Danny in and it ruins the show? And I bet a bunch of our fans were worried that too. Then I kind of stepped back and I was like, well, wait a second, you know, we write everything. We're always here. We basically are in the editing room the whole time. So if we can't make Danny DeVito funny, then we really suck.
He never had an attitude. He never bitched about anything. He always came in and had a smile on his face, and he's just fun. He's easy.
And the very first scene that I did with him was like the second time that I had met him. And it was the scene in the bar after we've slept together.
What the hell is she doing here? Really?
And he likes to get into it before the scene starts. So we were like backstage by ourselves waiting to come on. And he was like, yeah, oh, smell that. Like, what's he doing? But it made me feel really awkward, which was perfect for the scene.
Because that's what you do, Dennis Reynolds. You like to have sex with old people.
Danny is awesome.
I mean, he's a fun dude. He's just a really good guy to hang out with, and super smart and funny as shit and really helpful and cool. And
his sense of humor is his own.
We've hung out with him a bunch of times.
He invites me over to his house
to drink martinis and watch movies.
We watch movies in his theater that he has at his house.
And then sleep in his guest room.
And I stayed in his guest house one time. Danny fucking DeVito.
He's kind of the perfect co-star.
It's really bad to be in a show where the writing isn't good. This writing is really good.
Charlie and I had never really written anything before, and we just started writing for the show because it was necessary and we wanted to. And we'll come in and work like at least 8 hours. I mean, we'll work like 8, 9-hour days.
The first 7 hours of the day we spend in one of those cryogenic frozen tubes, just concentrating. You know, like just kind of concentrating on things. Then we get it out of our tubes and we have like a little monkey that we play with. A lot of times that monkey has written 65 to 70% of the script. From the typer. Which is great. Then what we do is we get our assistants and they come in and they kind of like polish it off a little bit. We go to lunch. We come back and the script is done. Then what we do is, and it's painstaking because this is where the hard work comes in. We put our names on it. And that's where you gotta be tricky because you're like, does my name go on it? Does your name go on it? Do all three of us go on it? But by the time we get through that process, and it's grueling, you know, we've usually come to some sort of agreement.
You know, sometimes you start to spend, you know, 10 hours, 11 hours a day in a room with the same people every day talking about stories, and you start to go a little crazy, you know, after a while. And sometimes the shit you're coming up with is, you know, cartoonish, ridiculous.
He's pinning you down and coming inside you? Yeah, that's how I become him.
Basically, I think if you make something funny, it's in good taste. If it's unfunny, it's in bad taste.
It's not like they're going, oh, God, let's turn up the burners here and offend people.
Ultimately, I think, you know, it never starts off with us trying to do anything shocking.
They're offensive right out of the gate.
I definitely sometimes I'm like, oh my God, my parents are gonna see this.
I will eat your babies, bitch!
You know, if something goes over that line, it ceases to be funny. It just becomes offensive.
There are a couple of things that pop up, and even I look at it and say, no, wait a minute, we're really going to do that?
Hi, I'm a recovering crackhead. This is my retarded sister that I take care of. I'd like some welfare, please.
We do stuff and it's not funny, I'm like, that is offensive. But when we do stuff and it's funny, I'm like, that's in good taste.
And I don't think anybody connected with the show wanted to be offensive or wanted to be offensive for its own sake if it wasn't serving some story point.
I think that we're making fun of ourselves, so I don't think it pushes the lines that much of like being mean to other people. We get that a lot. I don't think it's mean, I think it's funny.
Yeah, we've had a couple things rejected by the network. The original gym teacher pedophile, we wanted to make a Catholic priest.
That little prick's going to hell.
They were like, we're gonna catch some heat for that.
I think that if you think it's mean, you're a dork.
Oftentimes it really is about ignorance. I mean, when somebody is like unintentionally racist, that's funny.
He loves Mexicans.
And then to have a character actually act on that ignorance in a way that they don't even understand, I don't understand how that is racist.
Earlier, you were implying that I was racist because you thought that I was implying that all black people are related. And then it turns out that you people actually are. No, that's not what I meant. Hold on a second.
I mean, we never set out to do that. It happens very naturally with us because we egg each other on in the room when we're writing and when we're breaking these stories. And what inevitably ends up happening is that any joke escalates to the point where we ultimately find it to be the funniest. And that always ends up being something that's like really kind of pushing it.
We don't want to do like gross out humor.
You know, you can't, you can never make any rules for what's going to be funny and what's going to be too gross or what's going to be offensive or what's going to be mean. You know what I mean? You just got to feel it. You just got to feel it.
Everything's scripted. Every scene is scripted. Every line is scripted. And generally we'll do at least 1 or 2 takes of everything as scripted.
If, you know, I'm doing something with Charlie and he says something that's not in the script, I try to respond to exactly what he said as opposed to sticking, you know. That's what's fun about being the producers and the writers on the show too, is that we don't have to stick to the script if we don't want to. We can do whatever we want in the moment.
Sometimes you think you improv something and you're like, man, that's funny, and then you go back and read the script and you're like, no, we wrote that. That's the way it was.
A lot of like the greatest stuff comes from just dicking around. Like Charlie, you know, going to hug the waitress and Caitlin pulling him back.
I think I went to do it, and then Caitlin just instinctually grabbed me and pulled me back.
Charlie goes in for that, and Caitlin picks right up on it and stops him from doing it, and I about pissed my pants, but that was not planned, as far as I know.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
Great.
Nice to meet you.
Okay,
I'll
well.
see you. I gotta go get my little sister.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
The rock, flag, and eagle, amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna kick a little ass, gonna kick some ass in the USA.
That's improvised.
I'm gonna climb a mountain, gonna soar a flag, gonna fly on an eagle. I'm gonna kick some butt, I'm gonna drive a big truck, I'm gonna rule this world, I'm gonna kick some ass, I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna kick a little ass.
I felt like car commercials were always really, you know, they would spurt out just American symbols and they didn't seem to go together. So originally it was like a song about like, I got dual, double, lock and double, anti-steering brakes, rock, flag, and eagle. So I like when we were shooting it, sometimes I'd completely forgotten about it, and it kind of seeped back into my head and came out my mouth.
Rock, flag, and eagle.
So the whole scene between Dennis and Charlie, and was Charlie's filming him with that camcorder, and Dennis is giving the speech, and Charlie's illiterate, and he wrote the speech. Oh, that's pretty much all improv.
You know, the scene was supposed to end with, I'm not going to read the script, I'm just going to improv something.
I think you might be dyslexic, bro. I'm not reading this. I'm gonna.
No, please read it.
I think you might be dyslexic.
Read the script once.
You know, and then it was supposed to be over. But then I was like, all right, you want me to read the script? And then I just, you know, just made some stuff up.
Hello, fellow American. This, you should vote me. I leave power. Good. Thank you. Thank you. If you vote me, I'm hot. What? Taxes, they'll be lower. Son,
The Democratic vote for me is right thing to do, Philadelphia. So do. This doesn't make any sense.
Basically, as I'm pointing the camera, watching him, I'm literally crying tears, laughing so hard, just trying to hide it from him so that he doesn't break. But
Danny, in his first scene when he's giving that speech about your whore mother.
Dennis, your mother is a dirty, dirty whore.
Oh.
I love being in the bar.
Do we have any sharp knives?
My favorite scenes are usually when Charlie tries something new and then cracks himself up.
Ultimately, like I just love working with Glenn and Charlie. It's what the show started as, and it's what the show, you know, has evolved greatly. But like, just when I get to do those scenes between the three of us, they're just, I don't know, they're just so much fun.
I'm glad it ended up this way.
This is what needs to happen, kids. You need to tell your friends to watch a certain television show late at night on basic cable. That show is called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I also want you to take this DVD, okay? I don't want you to copy it on your computer like you crazy kids like to do these days. I want you to take a look at it, and I want you to respect the fact that it costs, what? How much? 13, 14 bucks. I want you to walk it over to your friend and you say, friend, I would give you this, but what I'm gonna do instead, I am going to offer you the opportunity to walk into a store, have respect for yourself, and buy it, take it home and watch it. Then, I want you all collectively to talk about it amongst your friends when you go to school. And then I want you all to tell your parents. And then I want you and your parents to sit down in front of the fire at 10 o'clock at night on a Thursday, and I want you to watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia so I can get really, really rich.